Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are ready to begin this evening's board meeting. The school board meeting of February 9th, 2021 is now called to order. The time is 6 p.m. We would like to take this opportunity to remind the members of the public of the district's mission, which is to ensure that each student achieves his or her highest personal potential and the district vision to be a world-class school system. Board member Ms. Patrica will be on the phone with us and may vote this evening per board policy 1.11. This evening agenda includes the invocation, the Pledge of Allegiance, reading of resolutions, 2 acknowledgement, public comments, consent items which include 3 items under board office, 1 item under executive services, which is good cause. Dr. Atkins, please provide an explanation for this 1 item.
Yeah, again, like we said this afternoon, we do have a plan that we need to submit to the Department of Education that requires board certification. We received notice of that on Friday, and so this is the best opportunity for us to get board approval. It has to do with our compliance plan related to class size.
Thank you. As presiding officer, I find there is good cause to add this 1 item to the agenda. 3 items under academic services, 2 items under business services, 2 items under human services, 7 items under operations, 2 items under public hearings, and 4 items under other business. Board members, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
I move to adopt the agenda as printed.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. And second, please.
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Giovanelli. And please record your vote.
Vote for me, yes. Yes, please.
Okay, 7-0, motion carries. Ms. Patrica will introduce the invocation, which I will be doing that for her, being she is on the phone, so I'll be doing that for her this evening. Ms. Gittens will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. At this time, I'm going to introduce our person who will be giving our invocation, Reverend Lorenzo Gonzalez, on behalf of St. Columkill Catholic Church. Father Lorenzo was born in Cuba, ordained as a Catholic priest in the Diocese of Venice, Southwest Florida, and serving the area for 20 years. Appointed as pastor of St. Columkill in July 2015. He is the pastor of St. Columkill Parish, and everyone in the parish knows him by Father Lorenzo. Will you please rise? Father Lorenzo, he's on phone.
Thank you. Oh God, accept this humble invocation of your presence this evening among those you have called to respond wisely and professionally to lead the education system in Lee County. Those you have entrusted the education of our children in their deliberations. We hold in tenderness and prayer the collective suffering of this time because of the pandemic. We grieve in solidarity for the precious life lost and vulnerable life threatened. Grant us, O Lord, your wisdom, guidance, courage, and strength. Help those who take part on this meeting, in person or remotely, to be wise in their decisions they make for the good of our children and our children of children, to understand the past and to get prepared for the future. For everyone who have been given much, much will be demanded. And from the one who have been entrusted with much, much more will be asked. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
So, Ms. Gittens, please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. This evening, student representatives Ivan Moore and Delvion Knight will be presenting the resolutions. Ivan Moore is a 10th grader at Dunbar High School and a member of the City of Fort Myers Teen Advisory Council, where he serves as chairperson. He will be reading the resolution for National Black History Month. Ivan?
Thank you. Whereas President Gerald Ford authorized an annual proclamation in 1976, which designated the 29-day period of February as National Black History Month, also known as National African American History Month, which originated from Negro History Week in 1926. And whereas the United States Congress passed Public Law 99-244 in 1986 to emphasize the struggle for freedom and equal opportunities for African Americans. And whereas we recognize African Americans as contributors of many achievements in every field from science and the arts to politics and religion. And whereas we celebrate the African American community as pillars and individuals who aim for reform within the American society. And whereas we acknowledge this time as a time to recognize the central roles and intellectual insurgency that many African Americans provided that aided in development of the history of the United States. And whereas the opportunity is seized to honor the beautiful accomplishments of African Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the School Board of Lee County, Florida hereby proclaims the 28-day period of February 1st through February 28th as National Black History Month. The Black family, representation, identity, and diversity. Adopted at a regular meeting of the School Board of Lee County, Florida, this 23rd day of January 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan. And next, Delvion Knight is a 10th grader at Fort Myers High and is a pre-IB student. He will be reading the resolution for Career and Technical Education Month. Thank you, Delvion.
Thank you, and I would just like to thank all of the board members for giving students the opportunity to present the resolutions, and I will be reading the resolution tonight for Career and Technical Education Month. Whereas the month of February has been designated Career and Technical Education Month by the Association for Career and Technical Education, and whereas profound economic and technological changes in our society are rapidly reflected in the structure and nature of work, thereby placing new and additional responsibilities on our educational system. And whereas career and technical education provides Americans with a school-to-career connection and is the backbone of a strong, well-educated workforce, which fosters productivity in business and industry and contributes to America's leadership in the international marketplace. And whereas career and technical education gives high school students experience in practical, meaningful applications of skills such as reading, writing, and mathematics, thus improving the quality of their education, motivating potential dropouts, and giving all students leadership opportunities in their fields and in their communities. And whereas career and technical education offers individuals lifelong opportunities to learn new skills, which provide them with career choices and potential satisfaction. And whereas the ever-increasing cooperative efforts of career and technical educators and business and industry stimulate the growth and vitality of our local economy and that of the entire nation by preparing graduates for career fields forecast to experience the largest and fastest growth in the next decade. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the School Board of Lee County, Florida, in order to encourage all Lee County citizens to become familiar with services and benefits offered by the career and technical education programs in this community, and to support and participate in these programs to enhance their individual work skills and productivity, hereby proclaims the month of February 2021 as Career and Technical Education Month. CTE for All, adopted at a regular meeting of the School Board of Lee County, Florida, this 9th day of February, 2021. Thank you.
Thank you both so much for being here. This is what it's about, you all, so thank you for being here.
And we break protocol and give
And
them a hand.
if we, I'm sorry, yes,
we
you
break
want to break
protocol
protocol and give them a hand clap. Thank you again. The character word for February is honesty, being truthful, trustworthy, and free from deception. Quote, honesty is the fastest way to prevent a mistake from turning into a failure. James Altucher. The design you see displayed on the screen was created by Matilda Briones, a 12th grade student at Estero High School. And I'm going to break, if you all want to, a few minutes, if you want to stay with us, that's fine. Families of the boys, if you want to stay. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to give you an out if you needed to leave, because I appreciate your time. Thank you again. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Mr. Bruno, please address the item of public comment.
School board policy provides the opportunity at this point in the meeting to address the board concerning any matter on this meeting's agenda or any other matter relevant to the operation of the school district. If you completed a blue card, please put it in the basket provided at the back of the room. If you need a blue card, they are located in the hallway outside of the boardroom. The rules concerning public comment are posted. Public comment will be made from the central microphone in the back. Please be advised that the board does not respond during public comment to remarks made by speakers. At the end of the public comment period, the board chair, Ms. Jordan, will address concerns or the assignment of any concerns or requests to the superintendent. Board Policy 1.181 is in effect and requires everyone to wear a mask when on school board property. In addition, for the benefit of other speakers, we ask that you use the sanitization supplies which are provided near the microphone after you speak. Speakers and those attending the meeting are expected to act in a respectful manner. The purpose of public comment is to provide feedback on school district issues. Personal attacks on individuals or abusive language are prohibited. In addition, clapping, hissing, and booing, unreasonably loud and/or offensive language, swearing, cursing, or a display of temper are prohibited. Speakers who fail to follow proper decorum in the chambers will be ruled out of order. Any speaker continuing with such remarks will be required to relinquish the microphone per Board Policy 1.11 and may be removed from the chambers. Per Policy 1.11, the time per speaker is 3 minutes if there are 20, 2 minutes if there are 30, and 1 if there are 31 speakers or more. Policies dictates that the maximum time allowed for public comment is 1 hour. You will find a countdown on the big screen in the front of the room. Once your time has elapsed, the microphone will automatically shut off. We encourage you to address the board as a whole versus individual board members as they act as a collective body. Please state your name prior to making your comment. Madam Chair, there are 11 speakers that wish to address the board this evening.
Thank you. Please make sure you have completed a blue card if you intend to provide public comment. The blue card is a public record identifying those who speak and providing contact information to staff for follow-up. The blue cards are located in the hallway. Is there anyone on the right side who has not put in for a card? Is there anybody on the left side that wishes to speak? Is there anyone in the back room? I'm sorry, was there someone on the right? Okay, if you'll just fill out a card when you speak, thank you. And then is there anyone in the back room? In the back room? No? Okay, thank you. Mr. Bruno, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I apologize in advance if I mispronounce your name. Yapram Dervahanyan?
Yep, from Dervangian, Lehigh Acres, Florida. I love my country, but I love my country, but I fear my government. I always make that statement. My statement's going to be on free speech. Before I say that, though, I heard on the radio that with the possibility of open borders, we're going to get a flux of new kids in our school systems. So it's a scary situation. Anyways, my comment is, last board meeting, there were some problems about board members cutting off certain board members, rudely interrupting, cutting her off, not giving her her right of free speech. I think this board should let every member state everything they want to say. You don't like it, you gotta listen. They're cutting off free speech. Our federal government's trying to cut our free speech. It's really getting scary. Second thing is, the person that had her free speech cut off and was rudely interrupted was one of the persons that went after Alfie at Oakley Farms because of his free speech, costing the school system money and firing him. All he said was Black Lives Matter is a hoax. So, you don't like your free speech cut off, but when somebody says something that you don't like, you get them fired. Let's not get hypocrites about this thing. We should all be able to speak whether we like it or not. Thank you.
Mary Beth Ocean.
I would respectfully like to address all members of the school board and Superintendent Atkins. Let the records show I support all public comments opposed to the Three Oaks school site. Okay. Number one, in keeping with best practices, why have you, our Lee County School Board, failed in your responsibility to reach out to all of the communities that will be affected by this new school? This could have eliminated many questions and misunderstandings that have occurred there. There are thousands of residents in Country Creek, Rookery Point, Copper Oaks, and Bellagio, many of whom know nothing about this new school. You have failed in your responsibility to give public notice. I believe it was Ms. Patrica, who is our Community District 3 representative. I don't know if the rest of you members would reach out to, our communities, but someone should have, before this late time that you will be voting on this issue. You continue to behave with very little transparency. I just learned of an agreement you have planned or made to put in parks and ball fields in the back of the new proposed school for Estero residents' use. Why haven't Estero residents been informed about a pending interlocal agreement? You don't seem you need to tell us anything. We pay your salaries. I don't understand. The projected school population of 1,800 to 2,350 seems quite large for little ones, 5-year-olds to 14-year-olds. You're going to have more children in this school than you have at the Bonita High School, for goodness sake. On a much smaller property and on a primary road where people drive 65 miles an hour and more. It's dangerous. I'm telling you that this is a dangerous site, and with only one entrance, that's dangerous. Why did Johnson project engineer falsely state that a village official was working with Copper Oaks community? That was false. It's a lie. False. And up there you had what is telling the truth. That's something that you project. You would like everyone to tell the truth, but you're not telling the truth. The sad fact is that it seems you have fully ignored the consequences of destroying a wetland. Wildlife depend on these wetlands for sources of water and food. It is not just about burrows. Animals forage for food. They don't have grocery stores. And in conclusion, I would like to share with all of you, shame on you if you allow 2,300 students to attend the school.
Thank you. Jeff Ocean.
Hello, my name is Jeff Ocean. I live in the Copper Oaks community. I'm the vice chairman of the CDD. And number one, I am requesting an access and maintenance agreement from the school board prior to the development order for the proposed school on Three Oaks. I want to ensure that our community will not be flooded, that our rights to quiet enjoyment are not violated, that the buses won't be driving up behind 35 houses adjacent to the school property on the north side of the property. It's a big mistake. It's a very big mistake. To the Lee County School Board, Debbie Jordan, Betsy Vaughn, Mary Fisher, Melissa Gianovelli, Chris Patrica, Gwen Gittins, Kathleen O'Daniel Morgan, and Dr. Greg Atkins, Superintendent. I am putting you all on notice today that if a child is hurt, or God forbid killed, because of the placement of this school on Three Oaks Parkway instead of Williams Road location, all of you will be responsible. You need to have chosen the Williams Road location. Instead, you chose a location on a very busy primary road, 1,900 feet from the busiest intersection in Estero. And there's only one way in and one way out of the school. This is the only school that has one way in and one way out. What's going to happen if an emergency happens? One way in, one way out. You have a choice, and I hope you make the right choice. Thank you.
Susan Cesario.
My name is Susan Cesario. Dr. Atkins and Lee County Board of Education members, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am opposed to the pre-K to 8th grade configuration, the size, and the location of the proposed school on Three Oaks. Current educational research does not identify or support one grade configuration as the most effective. The K to 8 conversion does not represent a silver bullet reform for closing the achievement gap. Unexplained variations reside in factors pertaining to a student's parents and home environment, factors that schools and administration cannot address on a school-wide level. A year-to-year dip may rather be an indicator of the difference between two unique cohorts of students. The configuration has difficulty maintaining diverse offerings. Multi-age courses may be difficult in the long term. The student-teacher gap is very high. Large impersonal schools limit the ability to create a unique experience. Not attending middle school can create a culture shock and an awkward transition to high school, offering a limited rebound time. There is an increased potential for bullying due to wide age gaps in students. A massive number of students and limited resources results in scheduling difficulties and rescheduling challenges. Research shows the two factors that really make a difference in achievement scores, social, emotional, and metacognitive growth, are school size and class size. Academic loss during transition years, regardless of the transition year, typically rebound in the second year. Older students may influence younger students with bad behaviors, access to social media, different interest focus, relationships, experimenting, high-risk taking behaviors. Isolating the different age groups is impossible when access to shared common areas such as cafeteria, gym, office, and media center. Different busing schedules for different grade levels is imperative. Now, we must not have 35 buses, but 70, plus an extended arrival and dismissal time. Traffic as identified by Johnson Engineering is a big issue and converts to an unsafe school location. Who is walking to school on 3 Oaks Parkway? Who is crossing Corkscrew Road? Safety and school climate are concerning. How will the school safely execute an evacuation of 2,300 students? The plan appears one way in and one way out. Exit to where? A very busy 3 Oaks Parkway? Approximately 1,900 feet from the Corkscrew Road intersection? What happened to option 3, expanding our existing schools? Our neighborhood schools are disappearing in favor of office-like buildings of education. Soon, more than 10,000 home units east of I-75 have already got their developmental...
Melissa Hatter? Thank you, ma'am. Time has run out.
Hi, I'm Melissa Hatter. Good evening, everybody. Came here tonight regarding the agenda item Salary Schedule N, which title is very deceiving considering it contains 42 pages relating to policy changes and additions, and only 6 pages actually relating to salary. Last chance agreement, policy 5.37 verbiage should be included. Employee use or possession of alcohol at district-sponsored events is strictly prohibited. This policy change to permit off-site employee usage is irresponsible and a liability. Ingestion of mind-altering substances result in an impaired judgment and the potential of leaving alcohol unattended, which could be easily consumed by curious children. Article 9, use of technology. Evidence derived from technology is accepted in a court of law and commonly considered indisputable evidence. Hence, why law enforcement use dash and body cams, residential, commercial, federal buildings utilize security cameras, including the district itself. If a court of law recognizes the significance of this evidence, why does the district not? Considering the time it appears related to my providing exactly such evidence to support a multitude of complaints. Outcome. I recently brought non-compliance of these laws that are being added to the board's attention. If appropriate actions were not taken due to ignorance of the laws, not only is an apology appropriate, but all complaints should immediately be addressed in compliance with these laws as they should have been several months ago. No findings. A pattern cannot be followed if this is not maintained in the employee file. Letter of guidance. This doesn't insist in monitoring if not placed in the employee file. High ethical standards are either being met or they are not. It just promulgates the rampant lack of accountability. honesty, which I see up here is what I've been hearing a lot, what was up here on this board. It's been over 7 months since I reported the misappropriation, 4 months since I provided evidence showing the inaccuracies of the audit. The audit has not been corrected in that amount of time, and we still don't know where the money went. It has also been 4 months, over 4 months since the issue with my daughter and the bullying. I submitted the appeal to the bullying investigation on December 11th. Still haven't heard back. 5 weeks ago, I was told it was being checked to see if it was finished. Still haven't heard a word. Thank you.
Jacqueline Perez.
Good evening, Board. On June 7th of last year, there was one board member that sent out an email to the school board attorney giving her a directive to find out how to legally cancel a vendor's contract. We now know from public records that one board member conspired with this attorney and the superintendent, who she gave directives to, violating the rights of a vendor, and exposed another board member to unwarranted attacks. With this type of behavior of having a rogue individual manipulating data, facts, and refusing to give public records places this entire board in this district in a complex situation of having to defend itself from several litigations. The main point is that the superintendent targeted this vendor on behalf of this board member. Today it's this vendor, tomorrow it can be anyone else, anyone sitting here in this audience. This is not about the content of this vendor's comments, but about his right to say what he wants to say and how the district reacted. The statements being documented in a court case, which is a public record, disputes the facts that the decision to cancel a contract was not based on health concerns, but were politically motivated. This has been a problem with the Atkins administration, where we know that employees have been retaliated against, and the school district has now moved to retaliate against a vendor. And you don't have to take my word for it. When a judge already has ruled against the district in a court case for public records that were being denied, yet the district chose to now spend another possible $100,000 to fight that decision. Still knowing you are at fault, and when you lose in a federal court case, and you will, the board will be forced to pay out millions of dollars because a board member acted on her own to gain benefit and privileges from her position. This is not only the criminal act. This isn't the only criminal act that has been committed by this board member. The new debacle of lies being perpetrated on the Estero residents for the new school on Three Oaks is another perfect example of abuse of power, where a board member is taking their position to give benefits to the Estero Council so the school district can pay for the maintenance of a park, tennis courts, and trails, jeopardizing the well-being of children and their safety for a board member to promote herself, to receive votes in a campaign year. You need to seriously consider what you're doing and what position you're putting yourselves in stepping out there and standing alongside this individual. My advice to you, because this is all a conflict of interest, you have a governor who has issued a grand jury to investigate school boards at no cost to this district. You should initiate for the governor or the commissioner of education to come here and investigate these two very large, scandalous acts of criminal activities going on right beneath your noses. Do what you're supposed to do.
Thank you. Courtney McGirt.
Good evening. My name is Courtney McGirt, and I wanted to touch base on two things tonight. First, regarding that salary schedule, I'm going to also stand by Ms. Hatter in regards to that change in policy around alcohol. I find that extremely concerning, why you would take out the words at district events and just leave in on school property. At district events, there are still students present, and teachers are still part of a highly regarded profession. And they are huge influences in students' lives. And so to take out any event where a student may be present concerns me. Teachers and coaches should not be utilizing alcohol, tobacco products, and drugs in front of students, and whether it's on school property or off school property. So I just would ask you to please relook at that. The other thing is, I wanted to just speak briefly about Cypress Lake High School Athletic Booster Club. I know you're in the process of rewriting that cooperative agreement. And I just want to say that, first of all, that cooperative agreement is not way off base. It's not. It has some holes, right? One of the big holes that it has is that it's not being enforced. The second thing is where's the fail-safe when administration doesn't do their part? Where's the protection for the whistleblower who comes forward after it's been reported to administration and it's ignored? After it's reported to the district and it's ignored? Those are the things that are missing out of that cooperative agreement. It's, like I said, it is not something that needs to be completely rewritten. It just needs to be enforced. The last thing I want to bring up is it was all over the news around FSW, and there was stealing of funds by an employee. Based on what I read on the article, it sounds like those were what would be qualified as internal account funds. And I again say, still don't know what happened with the booster money, but remember, all those funds got moved into internal accounts within the school. We know that there's another school in the county that had a cheer team that also had problems with internal funds. And that was, you know, again, community donations that were supposed to be used for students. We need transparency around the internal accounts as well. So please just look at the money. The communities are giving it in good faith.
Lori Fahey.
Hi, I'm Lori Fahey, and I'm here to speak on several things. One, I agree with the folks here arguing about the placement of the Three Oaks School. I live in Country Creek, and we already have flooding issues, so that's going to be a problem if you're filling in the wetlands. That's not what I came to speak about, though. I am the Booster Club member who requested the audit from the Cypress Lake Booster Club over a year ago, and we did not receive that audit from the board. Instead, the Booster Club was eliminated without vote. This is not unusual. This happened in Estero. It's happening in other schools right now. And this board needs to take control of this. You do have the authority. You do have the oversight. And this is money that our children are being robbed of. It's your responsibility. Please take it. On honesty, I love this character word for this month. And that brings me to talk about the graduation rate this year, which was fabulous, 90%. However, the community has been misled a little bit because the charter schools that they talk about reducing the graduation rate are actually alternative schools. The three main charter schools had a higher graduation rate than our publics. I still applaud the students and the teachers who helped them graduate this year. The main reason was because of the waiver on the high stakes testing. And I think that should be made clear, and more people should know about that. The other honesty, I was thrilled to see that Ms. Gittens is no longer being accused of canceling the contract with Oaks, and that we now know that Ms. Patrica was behind that. So I hope the news covers that as well. Lastly, I'm hoping that our students can all be able to enjoy prom and graduation this year.
There's no more liability than there is for face-to-face teaching. So please allow them that. Thank you.
Blanca France.
Good evening. My name is Blanca France. I'm a resident of Estero, a Copper Oaks. My concern is about the building of an elementary and middle school at the Three Oaks property in Estero. This will cause more flooding to our properties. In fact, 35 houses. Right now, we already have flooding problems. Our house backs up to the school property, and this flooding issue has been a problem during the past 15 years. With the new construction and with the destruction of the wetlands, we will have our house pretty much underwater. Now, usually this happens 3 to 4 months out of the year, where we have sitting water in our backyard up to 18 inches. Now, according to Lee County regulations, it says that no sitting water will remain in the drainage area for more than 72 hours. Well, we have it for 4 months, and it's up to 18 inches. So we really oppose the building of these schools in the backyard, because the drainage, the flooding is going to be a big problem. So we would like you to reconsider the location of those schools at the other school property that was already decided last year in 2020. So I don't know what happened and why it was changed to the new location. Thank you.
Edward France.
Yes, good evening. My name is Edward France, and I'm in Copper Oaks. I'm a little surprised hearing some of the comments tonight. It seems like there's no clarity or information being provided. People are maybe stretching the truth and not telling the whole truth here. I'm a little bit surprised. It seems like you have an ethical problem here. We had 5 people come out and state there's some problem with vendors, with the school development. A little bit surprised, but my main thing is the water and the flood problem. The dish or drainage dish along the back of these houses were supposed to be maintained by the schools. It hasn't been maintained by the schools. I talked to several people at Lee County, and they mentioned, well, it's not their responsibility to keep the drainage dish clean and drain and at a certain levels so that the sand from the side of the walls don't cave in on the drainage dish and fills it up. They said it's Lee County Schools. It's Lee County Schools property. They should maintain that drainage dish. So do I believe you in the future when you say you're going to maintain and take care of the water? There's 3 big ponds back there, very large ponds, as you know. They're full. We had water up on our roads during, the 4 years ago when Irma came through. What do you test for? Is it a 5-year flood, 10-year flood, 50-year flood? We had a house up in Fairfax County, Virginia, and they built a development across the street from us, and they had a drainage that came through our property. We had 2 acres up there. And they went by a 40 or 50-year floodplain when they did the studies. What are you guys comparing it to? 5 years ago, we had a flood water, and we received $9,000 from the insurance company because they said the flood came into our house. What's going on? And supposedly there's no animals back there. We have 2 golden eagles, bald eagles in our backyard. And the guy stated there's no animal life back there. I mean, are we hearing the truth? You do have ethic problems here. And one side note, by the way, I'm not impressed with your Lee County website. You have several outdated updates. I'm a former employee of the CIA, and I was the white hat guy on the agency. And your website can be brought down very easy. Very, very easy. You have services running that are not protected. You got ports open. You have, I mean, is that the quality of work that is done by Lee County Schools? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Scott Gullick.
If you go back to the thing, it says workplace. Well, that's workplace.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today in front of the board. As a civil, I'm going to repeat that, as a civil citizen of Lee County, I would like the record to show that I support Lee School Board on future development needs of schools, but I disagree with the development of Three Oaks pre-K through 8th grade.
Workplace.
I have done some studies. Basically, what I'm going to tell you is traffic studies, okay? We're talking about Three Oaks. One of the things I have here, which you all will have a copy or the ability to look at, is a 2-mile radius of the school, which is supposedly the walking distance for students. They will be crossing major traffic ways. They will be crossing Corkscrew, they'll be crossing the Estero Parkway, and it actually runs up all the way to 41 Highway. I sat in front of the planned district school of Three Oaks on Friday, February the 5th for 6 minutes and counted cars and videotaped it. Cars heading from Corkscrew to Estero Parkway was 1,310 cars. This is done at 3:30 on Friday, February the 5th. Traffic heading south from Estero Parkway to Corkscrew was 780. That's a total of 2,090 cars an hour. Also, traffic. On the traffic, if you head along Estero Parkway from Corkscrew to Estero Parkway, there are 9 entrances and exits along the sidewalk. From the sidewalk from Estero Parkway to Corkscrew, there are 4. So there are cars that are going to be going in and out at all times. One of the great things I'd like to say is, if I had a 2-year-old daughter, or I'm sorry, a second grade year daughter who'd be 8, 9 years old, and I sent her up to the store to get a candy bar with a couple dollars to walk down Corkscrew, I would be called by the police for child endangerment. What is the school board doing to protect our children that are walking to school? Thank you.
Lee County School Board members nor the district will respond to any comments or allegations made regarding any pending litigation or investigation. Madam Chair, there are no more comments.
Okay, thank you. Okay, first of all, I really appreciate everyone coming out here to speak this evening. And the folks from Estero, Copperleaf, and all the other developments, thank you for being here. Dr. Atkins, could you just give them an update on that, as far as information that will be given to them?
Yes, Madam Chair, be happy to. Dr. Savage has indicated that they're still in the site planning process and listening to public feedback. They're reaching out to the Copper Oaks community leadership to help resolve some of the concerns. Their next official steps are the transmittal of the hearing with the council to transmit comp plan and the amendment to the state. They're been working with revisions on the traffic study and also working with the village staff to address community concerns together.
Thank you. And Ms. Susan, I just wanted to let you know, we are doing a workshop on K-8 schools that will be coming up as well. So we will be having that to get all the information regarding them. Ms. Faye, we have a date scheduled for graduation. We are definitely want to see that happen for these children this year, as well as prom. And I know several of the schools have already scheduled some of their prom dates. So I just wanted to let you know that as well. And let's see. And as far as some of the other items, I really can't speak on those this evening, pursuant to what Mr. Bruno has already stated. But I do appreciate what you all say, and we do hear you. And I just want to say too, I know I had heard that Ms. Patrica, she is your district person, but we all represent Lee County, so as a governing board. So I just wanted to say that. And we are here, and we do hear what you have to say, and we do care about what you say for everyone out there. Even sometimes you feel that we're not listening or it's taking a little bit longer, we are listening, and we want to try to get to the end of, to be good. So I just wanted to put that out there. Moving on. The next is the approval of action items and the agenda under consents. The documents for the action items listed under consent is made available to the board members 7 business days prior to the board meeting. We are expected to review all the materials we have. Sorry, I can't see, my glasses are fogging up. We are expected to review all the materials, and we have an opportunity to speak with the superintendent and any questions we may have regarding the recommendations. Some of these items have also been briefed or workshopped with the board in advance of appearing on the action agenda. Board members, are there any action items you wish to pull for discussion under the unfinished business tabled item portion of the agenda? Ms. Giovanelli?
I have none.
Here. Ms. Patrica?
No, thank you.
Ms. Fisher?
I have none, thank you.
Ms. Gittens?
I would like to pull K 5 through 7.
Thank you. Ms. Vaughn?
I have none.
Ms. Morgan?
I have none.
And I have none. Is there a motion to approve the agenda consent items with the exceptions of the pulled items?
I move that we approve the consent agenda with the exception of K 5 through 7.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn. And would you please record your vote? Okay, 7-0, motion carries. Okay, we have 2 pulls to address.
3 pulls, I
Sorry,
believe,
3
Madam
pulls.
Chair.
5, 6, and 7.
Oh, let me pull these up. We have 3 pulls to address. K 5 through 7, I apologize. Okay. Dr. Atkins, please read your recommendation on the pulled items.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first is K5, approval of the ranking the RFQ architectural services for the renovation of Veterans Park Academy of the Arts as follows: ADG Architecture, Studio Plus, RG Architects, BSSW Architects. Approval authorizes the superintendent to enter the negotiation process and authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents. In the event the negotiations with the top-ranked firm are not successful, approval is recommended to proceed with negotiation and execution of a contract according to the order of the ranking. K6, recommended action, approval of the RFQ, construction management services for the renovation of Veterans Park Academy of the Arts as follows: Gulf Point Construction Company, 2, Christel Company of Southwest Florida, Inc., DBA Christel Construction, 3, OAK Florida, Inc., DBA Owens Ames Kimball Company, 4, Kaufman Lynn Construction. Approval authorizes the district to enter a negotiation process and authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents. In the event negotiations with the top-ranked firm are not successful, approval is recommended to proceed with negotiation and execution of a contract according to the order of the ranking. K7, recommended action, approval of the ranking RFQ, building official services for the renovation of Veterans Park Academy of the Art renovation as follows: Nova Engineering and Environmental, GFA International, NV5. Approval authorizes the district to enter the negotiation process and authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents. And just like the others, in the event negotiations with the top-ranked firm are not successful, approval is recommended to proceed with negotiation and execution of the contract according to the order of the ranking.
Thank you. That was all in one breath. Is there a motion to adopt Dr. Atkins' recommendation? Ms. Vaughn?
Yeah, nobody wants to read this whole thing. All right.
Do we do
Madam Chair, I just want to be clear. There were 3 recommendations that Dr. Atkins just stated, so we want to do it one motion at a time.
That's fine. Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to adopt Dr. Atkins' recommendation on K5?
I move to approve the ranking RFQ number CQ 200051TA, architectural services for renovation at Veterans Park Academy for the Arts.
I'll
Thank
second.
you. Second by Ms. Fisher. Okay, is there any discussion? Ms. Skittins, you pulled it?
Yes, I do, and actually, I don't have to repeat it 3 times, but it's the same thing for all 3. I will read what I gave to the governance board as to why I pulled it. I'm pulling items K5 through 7 on the board agenda this evening. The governance team agreed yesterday at our workshop to look at necessary updates and changes to our process for building schools in the Lee County School District. I understand there are timelines for building schools. We must move forward at our earliest convenience. However, we must look at our process now before we spend millions of dollars. We must vet potential expenditure of millions of taxpayer dollars with all stakeholders. Interested and concerned stakeholders have reached out to me and asked about this process. Are we possibly overlooking ways to save taxpayer money and help all students achieve their highest potential? Do we not owe it to the stakeholders the respect of equity, inclusion, and accountability? Previously, when there was an urgent need to make policy changes, the process was fast-tracked and expedited, and I'm sure we can do the same with this. Therefore, there would not be a long drawn-out time frame or delay of the process for much-needed student stations. I'm concerned that a positive vote for these items will result in the district moving forward expeditiously with current plans to expand Veterans Park. This should be one of the times that we stop, listen, involve, and plan for a better future. And the reason I'm pulling it is not that I don't think that we need the extra seats. We desperately need the seats, especially in the East Zone. But my concern is the process. And basically what happens is staff, I guess, looks at data, whatever, and decides that we need to have an addition or add a school or whatever. And the next thing in the process, it's said to the board, but there's not that much discussion. And now it's going for, they've already had the meeting to select the architects and the contractor and all of that. at those meetings, in order for someone to do an RFQ or a bid, they are told everything that we are looking for. And that's what's in the documents that they receive, the pictures, the maps, and all of the designs as far as this is what we're looking for. My concern is that they're moving straight along. Where in that process does it have coming back to the board, coming to the stakeholders? It's not there. The board agreed with me yesterday that we do need to look at that process, and we're going to work through it. I think in the spirit of transparency that we can have a very clear layout of 1, 2, 3, 4, we do this, we do this. The community and stakeholders would know at what point in the process they were going to get to give some input. My concern about Veterans Park is I just, and I know we're looking into the possibilities of a K through 8 and the you know, whether it's good or bad. In the East Zone, we have the majority of our families have anywhere from 3, 4, 5 children. And the idea of them dropping off this child here, this child here, this child here, when our strategic plan that we're constantly trying to get is parental involvement. A smaller learning community of a possibility of a K through 8, replacing the old lambs, is something that people in the community have thought about. But we have not been given the opportunity to discuss it. The reason for my urgency in not following this through tonight is that I know there is a approval of the DOE is only waiting for us to do this vote tonight to approve the expansion of Veterans Park. I've been told that it's not in stone, but when you send paperwork in and it's signed and there's a vote of all of the board members, that's pretty consistent for me. We were told on other projects that there was time to change it, and it didn't happen. So I am very concerned that we are moving along without community input and without coming back for board input, because I don't recall discussing whether we would have a mega school of 3,000 students or have 2 smaller schools. So that is my concern. That's why I'm pulling it. If I would vote on this tonight, I would be very, very concerned that in 6 months' time I would be told, well, the board already voted on it, and I cannot do that.
Please, no clapping. Thank you.
I think, staff has certainly heard these concerns that Ms. Gittens has expressed, and we have certainly made adjustments as a result. As I continue to say, we certainly still have time to make changes and modifications. The documents to which she's referring to were written, I spoke again to Kathy Ebal this afternoon. They are written very specifically to be very broad and general, which will allow for us to be able to work with our community when we design the renovation of Lehigh Acres Middle School, what is now currently Lehigh Acres Middle School. It will provide an opportunity for these firms to actually hear and participate in the community feedback. We believe, and we would like the opportunity as a staff to come to this board on the 23rd of February and provide you with a briefing of where we are, including a timeline, and then be able to come back to the board after we've gone out to the community following that meeting to to get input from the community, and then come back to the board in very early, I believe, April, and make a recommendation based on that community feedback. So in my mind, this is gets exactly right to what your concern is, but also allows us to be able to take advantage of a very short window of time that we have this summer when there is nobody around that building to be able to start this process. I think we can meet the concerns and the requests of not just board member Gittens, but other board members, while still staying on time in terms of what we want to do with that particular project, while still being able to garner and gather community input. Again, I just put it to them again, just devil's advocate, back to our staff. I said, now, the concern is that we've already made plans for a mega school, and it's going to be a mega K-8, but I need to be able to say that if the input comes back and we're going to do 2 different schools, a middle school and a K-8, or a middle school and an elementary, or whatever the configuration, we still have the ability to do that, and staff assured me that is definitely the case. And they said that for that specific reason is why we wrote that as broad as we could.
Okay,
thank you. Can I see if anyone else has any? Is Ms. Giovanelli? Did you have something to? Please.
I thought somebody else was going to speak.
No, after you.
Okay. So my concern is that we don't involve the community enough. We have a perfect example right here of what's happening right now in Three Oaks Parkway. And so my concern, again, is that we have to involve the community and parents, and we do not get enough involvement. And if it takes a little bit longer to do that, to have the community buy in so we don't have people going against us after the fact, then that's what we need to do. We need to slow down and make sure that we have buy-in in Lehigh Acres that wants this school. We want them to be proud. When we did Gateway, we had a site selection committee that I mentioned yesterday, and that group went to both places and spent lots of hours and time, and they were community involvement that decided, they're the ones that made the decision that we would build in Gateway versus Joel Boulevard. So, and we took that recommendation, and I think that the outcome is a result of that. It's been a little bit of a bumpy road, but actually Gateway was very smooth compared to the situation with the land issues that was at Bonita. We don't want to have the same problems that we had with Bonita, and so we need to learn from that mistake, and let's not make it again 2 more times. It seems to be like that. I want to make sure that we are ready and that the community is ready for us to do what we're spending their money, so we need to do it with their interest involved. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Giovanelli. Ms. Patrica, I can't see your hand. Do you have any comments?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gittens, please.
I hear you, Dr. Atkinson. I appreciate your comments on the reorganization phase 1 work plan that was given out. It clearly states classroom configuration K-3 in the old elementary Veterans Park, 4-6 in the old middle school Veterans Park, and 7-8 technical programs at the old lands. I just want to be assured that what's written in black and white is not going to happen. And you know the issues we had with some other decisions that the Eastleigh Education Cooperative met with you and staff and were told certain things, and the next thing we knew, it was changed and done another way. And I understand that things happen, but this is just a very big concern because it's in black and white.
Well, I'll respond this way. I was told that same information,
right?
Which is why I provided it to you. And so I would be just as upset as you would be if I find that what I just told you is simply not the case. Because, after we've been through this multiple times, and I've tried to assure this board all along the way that we still had flexibility. I'm not going to do that unless they guaranteed it to me today. yet again, Kathy Ebal, Dr. Savage. And, we need Dr. Savage to come up here and say something. I know he's more than happy to, but.
No, I'm fine. I just want to publicly hear that it is not a done deal, that this is not written in stone, and that we will take other processes and procedures to involve the community, the board, and all stakeholders before decisions are made. Because my concern is if you send off to DOE the statement that tonight the board voted, what happens to that plan that's at DOE and it's just waiting for us to vote? So that's my main question.
Right.
If I were to vote now, somebody sends off an email tomorrow and boom, it's a done deal.
Okay, and I do believe that Dr. Atkins, this is the second time he's made that public to us. So we've had a statement from
I
him
literally
twice
gave them
in one
different.
day.
I literally gave them different scenarios today about what if at Lambs they said yes, it can be a middle school, it could be a large K-8, it could be 2 K-8s. It's whatever we really need and ultimately decide as a community. And my interest is, as I've always shared with you, I really feel our students deserve a better facility at Lambs. I believe we have general agreement around that. It's a good thing for the community. And I believe we need to meet the capacity concerns of that school. But I think that the school communities themselves and the configuration of what those schools are, like Mr. Rickenbacker pointed out to me. I remember, now if you're going to make changes, you got to remember K2 bathrooms. And I said, I know all that. So, those are things that are part of this discussion. But yes, I mean, I've heard this board, I've heard what Ms. Giovanelli said, and Ms. Giovanelli, I don't like, hearing public concerns about we didn't get input as much as you don't like hearing it. That is why I also recommend that aside from this process, we can also go back to what is this governance team process for this moving forward, period, so it's really clear. Different governance teams have different expectations, and that's okay. We need to decide as the governance teams what is ours, so we know exactly what steps we're going to go through so that you feel comfortable with the decision at the end of the day.
So finally, the last thing I have to say is the vote of yes to this means that you are going to have the architect, the general contractor, and everybody helping in the process that is yet to be decided.
Right, so they can hear the feedback that we receive from the community. Like we talk about the black box, for example. Is that something the community wants to see? And or in the configurations of this building, is that something the community is supportive of? So yes.
Okay. Ms. Morgan, I apologize. I know you had your hand up. Please.
No, I have no further comments.
You have no comments now? Okay. All right. Ms. Fisher?
Yes. So I just want to clarify, because when we had the beginning of this discussion yesterday, it was my understanding that that was the process, that we would have the architects and the construction management services and the building officials there for the rest of the planning. I was not aware until just now that there was already a plan for configuration of classrooms and placement of that. So I just want to really be clear before I cast my vote that my understanding was correct and that I wasn't missing something very important.
What Ms. Ebal told us today was that document was written as broad as it could to be submitted to the state, so we do have the ability as the governance team to make those changes. So yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Okay, and I'll have to admit, I've been sitting on the fence on this one and just listening to the various facts, arguments made by other, my colleagues on the board. And on this, for the most part, I'm deferring to Ms. Gittens because I know how extraordinarily involved she is in the Lehigh community, and how important it is for her to be sure that people in her district have the input. And I've got to be frank that my faith in things in stone, not in stone, has been shaken by what has occurred in the past 2 years for the Estero site, because I distinctly remember, and I believe I was newly on the board at that time, the information about the Block Lane site and Williams Road, and I believe we already had an architect there, and we were discussing with FGCU at the time about an innovation school. And then all of a sudden, without board input on it, it seems to me that the commissioners in the village of Estero had a different opinion, and all of a sudden the school that we had fought so hard, and that Mayor Ribble had talked with Dr. Atkins and given him the promise, yes, we're going to support it, and then they didn't. And so honestly, it's things like that that shake my faith in all of this, and I really, really regret having to say it, but those of you who've listened to the board meetings, you know, for better or worse, I'm going to speak the truth, whether it's painful or not, because I do want to do what's best for our kids, which means that we're doing our best for the community. So I'm leaning toward not approving this based on everything that I've heard from my fellow board members.
Ms. Morgan?
So I think Ms. Vaughn has just proven the point that nothing is in stone, that we in fact start down a road, we hire an architect, we go through the planning process with the community, we find out that there are issues when we're involved in the process, and we regroup and we go back. We never start out with something in stone. The whole point of this is to start the process where you engage the community, you have professionals who are in a position to hear what's being said and also in a position to articulate the pros and cons of the questions being raised. If you go out and talk to the community without professionals, what have you got? You haven't got anything. You haven't moved at all. I absolutely believe staff when they say that there is flexibility in this document that enables the district and the governance team to look at alternatives with respect to what's going to happen with Veterans Park. So I absolutely support the superintendent, and I think that our work in the past has proven that the board is responsive to the community.
Yeah, and I have to say too, I sit on some committees that are much larger than this community, and that's where they start. They have to have a beginning. And when those architects and others, the developers, they all come in, they engage the community, bring them in. They have the little pins that show what we want, what we don't want, and then from there, that's where they start creating the story of what their vision is. So we have to start with something. And I believe that this is definitely the right way to move it. Ms. Gittens?
Okay, well, first of all, I was not saying that we just go immediately out to. That's why I discussed at our meeting yesterday, that staff puts together a plan, we talk about it with staff, it's tweaked or whatever. They then get the architects and everyone involved, and then work on a plan to show options to the community. The reason I'm concerned, and I know that you're saying that this is just a shell of a document, but on page 2 under project phasing, there is a specific bullet that says utilization of portables, additional sixth grade students, 380 students. I don't understand what that means, and you know that I have talked for 2 years about getting rid of the multitude of portables in the East Zone. So to see that on here is very scary to me. A number as precise as 380 students in utilization of portables. Under removing and replacing, it just says portables, but it doesn't say how, when, and where. That's the kind of thing that if you wanted to do this project, just come and say, this is what we want to do, this is how we want to do it. We discuss it. I am not distrusting staff in what they do. They do their job and know their job very well. The only thing I'm talking about is the process and timing.
Thank you, Ms. Gittens, and I know that we had discussed that, and we are working on having something regarding the processing, and I don't think we're there yet, but Ms. Morgan, please.
And I should have mentioned the proximity plan process. We could never have gone out to the community about the proximity plan if we had not hired paid contractors to come in who were professionals to help us draw up the plans. We have done that. We spent 18 months doing that. We hired people to do it. They have gone out with the plans, and the community is responding. That is how we work as a governance team with our staff. And that is all that's being asked in this process, to do exactly the same thing. Hire professionals, bring them in, look at this property, listen to the community, know what the options are with respect to the property, the demographics, and the need of the stakeholders.
And Ms. Morgan, they have
I'm sorry,
four
Ms.
options
Gittens?
with proximity.
Ms. Gittens,
We
I'm
have
sorry.
one. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to speak.
I'm done.
Thank you. Dr. Atkins, I know you were getting ready to say something.
Yeah, well, I'll go ahead and say this. I mean, I think we all know about, go back to the Estero piece, what happened at Estero. I mean, and that's, I'm sorry, but candidly, yeah, we were headed toward building on that piece of property near Estero, and really had to pivot very quickly because of another elected board, and who controlled the development order there, and to which we were not led to that conclusion prior to that meeting taking place. We felt they were in a totally different direction. They wanted an academic village around Estero High School. So that was every bit as frustrating for me as it has been for this team. So hence we're back to where we are. However, we are working with the village of Estero. I think we're working with the Copper Oaks community as best we can. You're going to hear community up.
Nobody.
You know, here.
Excuse me, ma'am, you're out of order. Point of order. You're out of order, ma'am.
To be fair, there are two sides to this issue.
We'll not have discussions between the constituents and the board right now, or the governance team. It's not the appropriate time.
And again, that's what our staff is engaged in right now.
Thank you. Ms. Fisher?
Yes, okay. So just to be clear one last time, the information that Mrs. Gittens is reading and talking about, I have not seen that. So if our backup information was as simple as the results of the responses to the RFQs and the committee's review of those, that's one thing. But if there's more planning and information, I feel that it's difficult to vote when I have not had the same information that my colleague has.
Yeah, these are documents that we typically get submitted to the state, and that's what we've done in this case. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. I again was reassured repeatedly
Ms. Giovanelli?
So I know we're talking about processes, basically. And I understand, and I actually agree with Ms. Fisher regarding getting the same information, because that's a big deal to me. But my mind kept thinking about track record. And we have a track record in Bonita where we have an underutilized school that we lost seats because of the planning process was not planned properly. So I am going to take baby steps instead of large steps, and I am going to agree with Ms. Gittens. I think we need to slow down. So, and because I feel like we're jumping the gun in Estero, and we're jumping the gun in East Lee. And I had a question that how many portables are in Estero and how many portables are out in East Lee? And I say Estero general, the schools out in the south zone down in the Estero area.
Which is why it's important to move. I mean, one of the things that I think is critical, this portables that Ms. Gittens was talking about are portables that we currently need to take care of the capacity in the east zone. And I keep reminding people about history here. You know, history is important. When the growth was in the west zone, there was an entire campus of portables. We called it Portable on the Green, out in the west zone. You know, so we had as many portables back then in the west as we have in the east. The growth shifted to the east, and now our construction has to catch up, just like history has demonstrated in the west and the south. So, you know, I look at these construction projects, and although, yes, right now there's all these portables in the east zone, this governance team has a plan to move us out of that scenario. You have portables that are getting aged out, which is a very positive thing for the school district because it no longer counts against our existing capacity, which gives us the ability to build schools for our students in the East Zone, which is exactly what we want to do here. And, you know, I still stand by the decision that we made to move the current LAMs into the new facility for reasons that I've stated multiple times, but so people can hear it again. You know, I think it's very, very difficult. If you were to put, you know, a rock star staff with fancy new programs in a brand new facility at MM with a brand new school, it makes it even that much more difficult for a middle school where they currently are in that older facility to compete on a level playing field. I think this levels the playing field so we can provide equity in education across that East Zone. And do some really cool things for the community in the process, and hopefully even expand upon the arts theme. But you know, that remains to be decided in terms of what that final configuration is going to be, which is why we're going out for community input.
Okay, and then so for this item, for these items, when you're reading it, there is no cost to the district for this action. Board approval for the Rankin authorize the districts to enter into a negotiation process. It's for us to just get these bids in. Is that correct?
And begin negotiations with the
them.
top, yes.
Afterwards, yes.
I'd like to call for the vote on this. I think we've discussed this many, many times, and I'd like to see us close out discussion, and I'm calling for the vote.
Okay, so.
I would like to make a comment before we do that, please.
Go ahead, Ms. Patrica, please.
I'm really not clear on how we are to go about building schools and decreasing portables without hiring the professionals necessary to accomplish that. I'm just really not in a place where I can understand how we fail to approve this, yet move forward with the project and get public input on what will work best on that site. I will be supporting the motion. Thank you.
Madam Chair, to close the debate, we need a second.
Do I have a second to close the debate?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Okay, so we will go into a vote, and this vote will be a hand vote. So those in favor, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
In favor of?
In favor of moving the superintendent's recommendation.
No, the first
Oh,
vote
that's
is a
not it.
motion. First vote that's pending on the floor is the motion to close the debate.
Oh, to close,
Vote, yeah, that's why I wanted it
I
clarified.
apologize. Is there a motion to raise your hand if you would like to close the debate?
Aye.
Aye.
Those who do not want to close the debate?
No, that's fine. I had one more statement. I'll save it till the end.
5-2. Okay, so can we now take a motion on the K-5?
Madam Chair, may I make a recommendation? It appears that the discussion has included all of K5, K6, and K7. So at this time, the chair can entertain a motion for all of the pulled items, K5, 6, and 7, since you've had a discussion on pretty much all of them at this point.
Okay. Thank you. I thought we had to do them all individually. So if I could have a motion then to...
Point of order, Madam Chair.
We need
yes?
to revise.
I believe we already have a motion on the table.
Right. No.
We had a motion on the table to close the conversation.
And it was voted.
Did it?
And
And it was
passed.
voted on.
And we also have the underlying motion for approval of K5.
Yes.
Right, so I will take that back and restate my motion.
But
Go ahead.
let's,
Would it be appropriate, Board Attorney, for me to make a motion to amend the original motion and amend it to include 5, 6, and 7?
yes.
Okay, so I move to include 5, 6, and 7 when we take the vote after that, the second vote.
And I'll second that.
So now we need a vote on the amendment, which is to amend the motion to include all of the pulled items, K5, 6, and 7.
I move
Okay,
that
do I have?
Yes, I move that we amend the motion to include.
Well, Ms. Vaughn, I
K5
believe,
through
has already made that
We
motion.
made the motion.
Oh, I thought she just asked for that again. Okay.
We need a vote, don't we?
need a vote.
Okay, can I please have can we please vote on the amended motion? And that will be by hand.
Yeah, aye.
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 Those opposed of the motion? Ms. Patrica?
I voted aye.
Oh, I'm so sorry. So 6-1? Okay. So now can we vote on the actual motion then?
As amended.
The recommended motion, could I please get a recommended motion on Dr. Atkins?
You already have a motion at this point. If the motion is to, on Dr. Atkins' recommendation for K5, 6, and 7. So now you're going to take a vote on that motion.
Okay, may I have a vote on the recommended motion K5 through 7?
And I'm sorry, I'm a little confused.
I'm getting confused too
Is
now.
that to?
We're voting on the recommended motion.
No, to approve.
At this time, the board is voting on Dr. Atkins' recommendation on item K5, K6, and K7.
As it is on the agenda right now.
Per his recommendation, as it is on the agenda.
Right.
Okay.
And so that's what I was doing, and then you said I needed to do it 3 separate times. So now we've consolidated them all together. So now, is there a motion to adopt Dr. Atkins' recommendations?
We don't need a motion at this point, we just need the vote.
Okay. Can I have a vote on Dr. Atkins' recommendation as stated?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nay.
Nay.
Aye. So 4-3, motion carries. Dr. Atkins, please introduce any administrators in attendance with a new assignment that were approved under the consent agenda.
And this person certainly deserves this appointment this evening for being patient. But I'd like to introduce Heidi Hepler, Paul Lawrence Dunbar Middle School Assistant Principal. Congratulations. The staff at Paul Lawrence Dunbar Middle School has been anxious to get an assistant principal in place, so, and no pressure.
Thank you. And so we're now at public hearings. Dr. Atkins, please present your recommendations for this evening public hearings.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first is the approval to adopt policy P234, religious expression in compliance with changes in related rules, regulations, statutes to adopt best practices and promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be February 10th, 2021. Next is 02, approval to revise policy 5.08, guest teachers in compliance with changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes to adopt best practices and to promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be February 10th, 2021.
Okay, thank you. We will now recess the regular school board meeting and open the public hearing. As indicated, the public hearing this evening is to consider, 1, approval to adopt policy P2.34, religious expression. Number 2, approval to revise policy 5.08, guest teachers. At this time, the public will be invited to speak on these 2 items. The time allowed for comments is 3 minutes. Is there anyone in the audience on the right side or the left side that wish to speak? Is there anyone in the back room that wishes to speak? There are none. I will now close this public hearing and reconvene the regular school board meeting of February 9th, 2021. Dr. Atkins, please restate your recommendation for this evening's public hearing.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first is approval to adopt policy 2.34, religious expression in compliance with changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes to adopt best practices and promote transparency and accountability. Effective date of this adoption shall be February 10th, 2021.
Thank you. You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board adopt policy P2.34, religious expression in compliance with changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes, to adopt best practices and to promote transparencies and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be February 10th, 2021. Is there a motion to approve? Ms. Morgan?
I move the board adopt policy 2.34, religious expression.
Thank you. And second?
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Gittens. Is there any discussion? Okay. Please record your votes. Okay, 7-0, motion carries. Dr. Atkins, would you read the next one, please?
Next, recommended action is approval to revise policy 5.08, guest teachers in compliance with changes in related rules, regulations, statutes to adopt best practices and promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be February 10th, 2021.
Thank you. You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the revised policy 5.08, guest teachers, in compliance with changes in related rules, regulation, and statutes, to adopt best practices and to promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be February 10th, 2021. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to.
I move to approve the superintendent's recommendation to revise policy 5.08, guest teachers.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn.
I'll
And
second
second
that.
by Ms. Fisher.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Is this Ms. Patrica?
No discussion, thank you.
Thank you. Please record your vote. Seven zero, motion carries. Next is board member comments, and Ms. Giovanni, I'm going to start with you because we haven't seen you.
Okay.
For a minute. So welcome back.
I'm back. Actually, just wanted to just reiterate some discussion that's happened regarding prom and graduation. I've received numerous calls and emails and so forth. And so I would love the superintendent to just reassure parents of the class of 21 that they are going to have a proms and graduations and so forth, because I think that's really important. Trying to get back to as much normalcy as we can. Also, I had another, someone else contact me regarding athletic, schools are having athletic facility tours, and not every school is doing that, so you might want to look into that. And this is not a private school, this is a couple of our public schools that I've been told, and parents are, so they're recruiting athletes for, so it's already started, so I just thought I'd throw that out there as well. And I wanted to let Mrs. Hatter know that I received your email and the things you spoke about tonight, and I have already forwarded them to the superintendent and the board attorney to address those. So thank you. And also regarding something that Mrs. Perez spoke about, that was something without my knowledge, and I just wanted to let Ms. Gittens know that I apologize for this board letting you get the brunt of some things that had happened over with social media and so forth. So I wanted you to know that you're in my thoughts there, and I apologize if I've offended you or in any way. So for taking that brunt of a board decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Patrica?
No, thank you.
Ms. Fisher?
Okay, and I'll be brief. I attended the Drug Free Coalition Run for Prevention on Saturday, January 30th. That run raises money for prevention programs that are provided to our schools free of charge, like Drug House Odyssey, classes from the Hanley Center, etc. Then this past Saturday, February 6th, I attended Strides for Education, and our superintendent came in almost record time, and we had a great turnout, including many teams from the schools, and the kids were as young as 4 years old, and it was an amazing 1,000 people at the FSW campus, social distancing, masks, etc., and it was an amazing support for education, so I was happy to be able to be there. And next year I will walk. I want to thank our United Way Resource Center, which is housed here in the Lee County Public Education Center. In the last several months, they have delivered over 15,750 items to children at schools at the request of the counselors or the social workers. They spent $17,000 of their community-donated funds and were able to accumulate $445,000 worth of shoes, books, clothing, etc. So I really am very grateful that we have this partnership with United Way and the other community organizations. I attended the Sheriff's Youth Activities League opening meeting, and the Lee County Sheriff's Office is opening 6 outreach centers, and they are offering youth program opportunities such as basketball with the YMCA in North Fort Myers, Estero, and Lehigh. And they're also doing a teen driving challenge on Saturdays, and that includes a self-defense class. and parents are invited to come with their kids and be present for that. And I think that's a great opportunity for our teen drivers. I want to mention that our Cape Coral Police Department partners were amazing in helping our Calusa Middle School staff with an emergency situation recently, and it again was another indication of how well partnerships with our law enforcement and community agencies work with our schools when everyone is trained and understands what to do. I had an opportunity to attend the Healthy Lee Steering Committee meeting, and they hadn't met in about 17 months because of the virus and other things. And they are making more efforts in reaching out to the community to provide help and resources to people in this difficult time, people who have lost jobs or are having mental health issues due to struggling with rent and being homeless, etc. Kids Minds Matter will be hosting a virtual Unmask the Epidemic community event on March 18th, and it's free, and it's a great opportunity to have for yourself the mental health resources available to families identified for you. And they will have the input of local youth who are advocating for enhanced access to mental health care. They're also sharing ideas about building design to promote mental health, wellness, energy development, productivity, and positive learning experiences. Our Best Buddies International, which have many sites in this district, are having a caravan instead of their annual walk this year. And I wanted to thank Mr. Clayton Simmons and the Estero ROTC for helping to volunteer with traffic control for that event. They really have been very instrumental in helping our special needs kids be back in school and have what they need to be successful in their different classes. Career and Tech Ed resolution. I was reading the other day that students in career and tech ed programs are more likely to be employed within 5 years than those in academic fields of study, based on the way the workforce is going now. And then finally, Ms. Gittens, I'm so happy to hear our resolution for Black History Month, and I want to close with a quote from Michelle Obama. History has shown that courage can be contagious and that hope can take on a life of its own. And I thank our staff, our students, and everyone for the work that they do to keep us moving forward in these challenging times. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Ms. Gittens.
Okay, first of all, I would like to thank everyone that came this evening and spoke, and we appreciate participation. That's what education is about. This is the village. Thank you to the young men that spoke. We really appreciate it, and our future is bright with young men strong and with the comments and all that you made as well. Thank you so much, and all the best to you in your education. I also want to applaud staff and the superintendent for the way that they are executing the proximity plan. And I wanted to just make that clear on the record, because the way that it is being rolled out without decisions being made is all that I was talking about with the other business, with the building plan. There are options, there's discussion, there are explanations before the ink is dry. So I wanted to make that comment. I also want to congratulate the superintendent and our attorney, Dupuy Bruno. They received the Lee Pitts People of 2020 award this year, and congratulations to both of you for that and your community involvement. And I have been asked to speak on a couple of Zooms in the last several months, and one of them was with the Temple Bat Yam of the Islands out in Sanibel, and this was back in the summer. And while I was on that Zoom, there were some other churches and community people that were listening at the same time. And as a result, we developed a friendship and a partnership with the Sanibel Congregational United Church of Christ. And you heard me mention before about them donating 5 $25 gift certificates to all 26 schools in the East Zone for our Christmas, just before Christmas break. And the only thing that the students and staff, 2 went to staff members at each school and 3 went to students at each school. And the only thing they had to do was to promise to do a thank you card at the when they came back from the break, to thank the church and to tell them, you know, what they did and how it helped them. So last Sunday, I had an opportunity to go to the Sanibel Church and to present them with a book of all of the thank you cards from the students and the staff. And it was just very interesting because here I was standing at the podium thanking them all, and the rabbi, it was their exchange day, so the rabbi from Temple Bat Yam was the speaker that day at the Christian church. So it sounds like a joke, but there was a Baptist and a Christian and a Jew, but there's no joke. But it was, to me, just very enlightening to be there. And because of a relationship with a Jewish group, we got to know a Christian group that provided something for, I call it our partners across the water. And I just think it was a great moment just to participate. And there's more to come with that. I also have had an opportunity, I spoke with Dr. Stark, who is our chairperson of CSI, Continuous Systemic Improvement. That's so hard to say, especially with a mask on. And she had invited me to speak to her educational doctoral class. And if you ever have an opportunity to talk to a group like that, it was fabulous. And just sharing information. And I got emails and things back from them, because one of the things they asked me was, what is one nugget or one thing that you would think about, as far as education, that I could tell them? And I said, the ability to be out on a playground or in a gym that's filled with students and connect with one student by getting on one knee or looking at them eye to eye and connecting with them to the point that they feel they're the only one in that gym. That if you can do that as a teacher or an administrator, you've made it. You have done what you need to do. I also was on a Zoom call. Zooms are great. I don't have to go all over the place to meet people, so it's great. I had a Zoom call with a group of black students from FGCU, and the topic was mentorship and leadership of black youth. Very insightful about how to get mentors and how to look for mentors. And one of the things I told them was, don't just look right in your circle, look outside your circle, because there's somebody waiting out there to mentor you, that you're going to help them as much as they will help you. And then I have to say this. I was getting ready to get dressed this morning, and it is February, which is Black History Month. This is going into my 3rd year sitting on the board. And for the past 2 years in February, I do wear African attire just to celebrate my heritage in Black History Month. And this morning, as I reached for this dress, I had a fleeting moment of angst. And I thought to myself, do I do this? With all that has been said and been done, and the threats and all that have gone on, do I do that? And just as quickly as I had that thought, it went away. Because I said, I am here, I am a board member, and I'm unapologetically Black. And it's my heritage, and it is Black History Month. And I wanted to share with you, if you wanted to read anything about Black history, this is a book that you can get. It's up on the screen, and it's called Ruby Bridges, This Is Your Time. And for all the educators, I want to just read this one little quote. I didn't realize until I read this book that Ruby Bridges is the little girl that was 6 years old she was the first Black child to attend an all-white school. And she talks about how people were out on the street jeering and throwing things at her. And I forgot the fact that for that whole year, it was only she and her teacher in the classroom. All the other parents had removed their children. So for the whole time, it was just she and her teacher. And she made the statement that we never missed a day because we were there for each other. And then she said, I felt safe and loved, and that was because Miss Henry, who, by the way, looked exactly like the women that were screaming in the screaming mob outside, but she wasn't like them. She showed me her heart, and even 6 years old, I knew she was different. Barbara Henry was white, I was Black, and we mattered to each other. She became my best friend. I knew that if I got safely past the angry crowd outside, and into my classroom, I was going to have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gittens. Ms. Vaughn?
Okay, I just have a couple comments to make, and first I'd like to thank Ms. Gittens for already touching on the comments I make. No, but thank you for bringing up the Ruby Bridges book. I really enjoyed reading memoirs, and this looks like, is it written on a lower level for children?
For everyone, and I will lend it.
Oh, good.
Lend, it's on tape.
So I'm going to save a little Amazon money. Thank you. I want to read that. Anyway, I'm going to say this again about the having students back in the boardroom. It really, I guess I really didn't realize how much I missed having students in the boardroom. And the two young men who read the resolutions, one of them still here, they just did an excellent job, very, very poised and articulate in their reading. So I appreciate you, and hopefully we'll be seeing more of our kids in the boardroom, and I'm excited that the student advisory group is going to happen again pretty soon. You said March, I think. So looking forward to that. To our speakers tonight, I just wanted to say that I really appreciate all of this evening's speakers, and that all of you presented food for thought. And it was mentioned earlier by our board chair, but I want to reiterate that we are listening. I do want to remind everyone, because often when I get a phone call or personal email, it's kind of like the person thinks, me, Betsy Vaughn, that I can do something about an issue or a problem. This board is a group. Any action that we take, it's a group action. That's just the nature of it. So people need to keep that in mind. Now, obviously, we're 7 individuals, and again, for those of you who regularly watch, listen to our meetings, you know that we are all strong women that have our points of view. And so I do want you to keep that in mind, that the like tonight, we had a split vote. It was a board action, and so my vote wasn't on the side that won, so to speak, but now I absolutely support what the board has said, because that's the way it goes. That said, I just want to put it back out there to all of you who speak, and I welcome anybody who wants to contact me individually, that we are individuals, and it's just when we come together as a board and discuss the issues that we work as a group and make decisions. So I think sometimes that's kind of forgotten. Thank you, and those are my comments.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn, and well said. I appreciate that. Ms. Morgan.
No, I gave my report this afternoon, and I have no comments to add to what's been said by everybody else on the board, so thank you all.
Thank you.
I share your comments.
Okay, and I gave my report earlier as well, but I do want to say thank you again to Ivan and Delvion. I appreciate you being here so much. It really made a difference to all of us, and I definitely can see you are going to be something, you're going somewhere. And please come back and visit us, or if you have ever a need for us, let us know. Next will be, Ms. Dupree Bruno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I gave my report earlier today as well, and I don't have any further comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Atkins?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did as well this afternoon, majority of my comments, but I will just respond to Ms. Giovanelli and also for the viewing public regarding our graduations and also our proms. As I think we've talked about before, we do have our original plan with graduation that's in place, and we also have the backup plan, which is having graduations outside in our stadiums. So we have both of those in case we have to pivot from the larger arenas. We can then go and have graduations in our high schools. Our high school principals were adamant about that, and we're happy about that as well. So proms, that was something that was also approved by our pandemic committee. And if you get by the pandemic committee, that's the big hurdle, is getting by the pandemic committee. Well, I'm happy to report that they were approved by the pandemic committee to move forward, and they will be outside so that we can put protocols in place, but we do plan to have proms this year for our high school students.
Thank you. And yes, I know that they are following the guidelines as well. Wrap foods, everything that they need to cover. So thank you for that.
And those are all my comments.
Thank you. Okay. The next scheduled meetings of the board, on Tuesday, February 16th, there will be a closed attorney-client session at 3 p.m. On Monday, February 22nd, there will be a school board workshop at 1 p.m. On Tuesday, February 23rd, there will be a briefing meeting at 1 p.m. and an action meeting at 6 p.m. At this point, having no other business to come before this body and seeing no objection, this meeting is adjourned. And thank you very much.